Hi there! Have you ever struggled with creating some nice enemy AI in your GDevelop game? Well, I can show you how I did it in my game and hopefully help you with this sometimes difficult task. Alright, so today we're talking about AI for the enemies and how to do this in GDevelop. In my game I already have plenty of enemies. They behave in different way, they do different things. And I wanted to show you how I did this one in particular, because it was really challenging for me, maybe because it was the first one I did when I downloaded GDevelop for the first time, so it was a little bit hard for me to understand how to do things. But let's see immediately what it does, and then I explain you how to do this. Okay, so here is my game running. Let's find that enemy. Okay. Here it is. So he's walking from, one side to another, nothing special there. Nothing happens if I'm really close to it, because it doesn't see me. But now, yeah, he saw me and he starts to throw those things at me. Ouch, that was painful. Okay, so... Okay, now I'm behind, nothing happens. And also when he sees me, he throws those things on a certain phase, which was really important. Not too fast, not too slow. So now if I press my VK, you can actually see what's going on in the background, right? So it has this vision object, because that was the first thing I understood I need to do. I need to actually create a range that this enemy will be able to see me and the distance. Right, so now, okay, it sees me because I'm touching this green box. And the second problem was to how do I make this attack with some physics, because you see this purple ball just flies, but with certain curve. It feels like there's like gravity going on, so I used some physics there as well. And that's pretty much it. So before we start to make our own enemy, I'll just kill it. Done. Alright, so I have my scene here. So a couple of things I need to change immediately. I'll just set background to black so we can see things better. And I set my grid, so I show grid, and I'll be using 24 by 24 pixels for the tiles. Okay, that's cool. And first thing I want to add is the floor for our enemy and for our character. So I will use tiled sprite. I call it grass platform. I make it 24 by 24. Create. And okay, let's do it here as well, 24 by 24. And I just import an image I have already prepared for this. Okay, tile grass, open, import. Okay, here you go. Here we have our tile. Save, apply, and now let's just put it here, something like that. Cool. Another thing we need to add is a player, which we'll be controlling. So sprite, let's call it player, add animation, and we'll be using this one for today. Okay, apply, and let's put him here. Now we need to add our enemy. Add, here's our enemy. Okay, apply, here's our enemy, and we need to add that kind of purple ball or egg or whatever. I'll call it bullet. To our scene. Okay, that's done. So we have all of these sprites here. And if I hit play, nothing will happen because we didn't add any events to this level, right? So Here you go. The things are there. And we will start to put some events now. Okay, so the first one I want to add is just to not resize the window all the time. I'll just make it bigger at the beginning of the level. So beginning of a scene. Size. Change window. Where is it? I'll find it now. Change the size of the game window. Alright, and I make it like 1000 per 600 pixels, and I'll also center it immediately. Center the game window on the screen. Okay, that's done. So now we should see everything a little bit bigger. Okay, cool, that's fine. So now the first thing, we need to start move our player. So I just double click it, add behavior, and I will use platformer character for this. So let's keep this default control, so that means we will be controlling this character with our keyboard. I'll change a few settings here. I'll just do 1200, so it has a little bit of acceleration, deceleration, and he starts to move immediately almost. Speed I would put like 100, and gravity maybe 500, jump speed 300, and max falling speed maybe 1000. That might look good. Okay, let's just try it out. Okay, yes, I forgot to set this as a platform. So we double click this, behaviors, add the behavior to the object, and select platform. Okay, so now it should work. Okay, that's fine. I like how it feels. Now I will just make our character flip depending on the direction we take. It will just look a little bit better. So I'll add another empty event, and now key pressed left. Okay. When key pressed left, we don't flip the object because it's already flipped to the. It's already to the left. So flip object horizontally. Player, no, we don't flip it here. And I just copy and paste this. Right. So that's the right key, and in this case we flip it. So let's just try it. Okay, that works. Great. Okay, so now we start to work with the enemy, right? So for the enemy, we actually need to set up a few things. So first one, I want to edit points. So I want to put both of these here, origin and center. Let me just zoom it in a little bit. So this is where all the things will be happening. So we will, throw the egg from this point. We will also create the vision for our slug also from this point. So I'll just put them here. Apply. Okay, and now we need to give some movement to this enemy. So we want to make it walk from left to right and from right to left. So first of all, we will create a behavior, and we set it as a platformer character as well. And we can put similar settings here, 1000, 200. We should remove this tick here because we don't want to control this character by our keyboard, but we want it to just go left to right. So we'll just remove this. I don't really care about the gravity and jump speed unless you want to make your enemy actually jump as well, or fall from different platforms, but you can play with this yourself. And I would add speed here, maybe something like 25. That would work. Cool. So apply. Now if we run the game, it stays on the platform now, right? So he doesn't walk, he just stays there waiting for instructions to go, right? So let's create those instructions now. Let me save it. It's always a good thing to save, right? So the way we will move this character, we will do it with the help of variables. They're really useful. So we'll add a new variable, and I'll call it go left. And I set the initial value to 0, right? And the logic will be, whenever this variable is set to 0, our character will walk to the left. If this variable is set to 1, it will go to the right. Okay? So that's the simple logic. Now, at the beginning of the scene, I want to decide where to go. So I will set variable of an object. So let's choose this one, enemy. So which variable? Go left equals to 0. We'll make it walk to the left at the beginning of the level, right? Okay, now we need to also add some meaning to those variables. So what happens if that variable is 0 or it's 1, right? So we create a new event, and we say that variable, so value of an object's variable enemy go left equals to 0. So basically we're saying if the variable of this object is 0, then simulate control of the enemy. Sorry, I pressed the wrong one. So simulate control, okay, the platform, because this is another type of behavior. So this one, we choose this one, platform behavior, enemy K left. Okay, so now whenever this is 0, we will simulate pressing the left key, so enemy will go to the left. So I copied this whole thing and I just modify this and I set to 1. So now we should say what happens if the value is 1, and we change this left to right, and that's basically it. So let's run our scene and see what happens. Okay, now our enemy walks to the left, as we said, but here it falls. It doesn't go back. So we need to put some things in the level to basically make it turn and go to the other side, right? So let's create a new object, sprite, and let's call it go left. We create a really quick and dirty image here, right? So I set it to 24 by 24, resize. I just choose a color and I just draw an arrow to understand what does this mean, right? A beautiful arrow. Oh, this is right. Okay, sorry, I flip it. So this is left. Okay, save, go left, apply, and I just put it here. Okay, or maybe here. Now I create another object and I call it go right. Add animation. Now I need to create a new one. Same thing here. Let me just resize it to 24 by 24. Okay, and now I draw an arrow to the right. Save, apply, and I put it here. Okay, so now the logic should work in the following way. So whenever this object will touch this arrow, it will go to the right. If this object touches this arrow, it will go to the left. So we need to add a new condition. So in this, we need to search for collision. So collision, okay, this is the one. When enemy, object 1, which is enemy, touches go right, okay, we just call this variable, right? And we need to set go left to 1. Whenever it's 1, you remember we said it will go right, okay? So let's search for it. Modify a variable of an object, enemy, go left, that's the one, equals to 1, okay? And same thing we do for the other side. We just copy and paste this one and search for go left, and we set this variable to 0. So when it touches this object, the variable will change to 0, and therefore it will, you know, simulate K press left. Okay, so now let's see if that works. Okay, our enemy is walking left and right, left and right. That works, but it doesn't flip, right? So we can actually add instruction here. So we know this is when enemy goes left, so we can actually use the flip instruction here. So let's choose flip. Oops. Flip the object horizontally, and we choose enemy, and we set no, right? Because it's already looking to the left. I just copy and paste this here. So when it goes to the right, we actually say yes for flipping. Now let me save it and run it again, and hopefully this will work. Okay, it works. Let's see the other side. Okay, it does work. So now is the hard part, right? So now we need to create that vision box I showed you in my example before. So in order to do that, we just create another sprite and call it something like, I don't know, enemy vision. Okay, create add animation, and we just draw this box. So now the size is actually quite important, because the width, that will be actually the area, the distance which our player will touch to trigger the attack. So basically, if we put something like, I don't know, 120, and the height will be 24 resize. So this is the full area that we can touch. So the enemy will attack. So imagine the enemy is here. If we touch this box from this side, it will throw that ball towards our position. Okay, so if you're happy with this distance, we can just go ahead and draw something here just to make it clear what's going on. Okay, just draw a green thing here, and also I'll just quickly draw an eye here. Okay, this is where the slug will look from, and this is the direction where. So this is purely for us to remember what's going on and which side is which, right? So that's fine. Let's hit save. And I want to edit points as well, because this is where the eyes of our enemy will be. So I'll just put these two crosses here. Okay, close and apply. We don't need to drag this object here. We will just create it. So we just create a new event, and make sure we enter trigger once. I will explain you later why. Trigger once. So at the beginning of the level we will trigger something once, right? So in that something will be creating the vision at the position of our enemy. So create an object, enemy vision, and position will be enemy X and enemy Y. Okay, so now we have that. Let's see. Okay, that's cool. Now I want to test one thing. I want to copy and paste this object and see if for each of them we will get the same thing. You see, we have only one vision created, but it's not only one, there are actually two, but they're all created at the same position, at the position of the first ever enemy we created. So this is a problem, and this was the first problem I had to solve when I started doing this in my own game. So there is a really useful thing here. If you press this plus, which is called for each object, that means that whatever condition we will create and event, it will create it for every instance of the object separately, right? So let's try to add that. So let's choose for each object, and we need to choose which one. So enemy. Okay, and now we just copy paste this from here to here. So copy, paste, and copy, paste. And now we can delete this one. We don't need it anymore. So basically what does this say? So for each instance of enemy, so it doesn't matter how many are there, for each one we'll create this object. So now if we run the scene, now we have two, because one was created at this position and one was created at this position. So that's correct, and that works. Now next thing we need to do is actually make them move together. So the vision should always be at the position of our enemy. So once again, you know, if we do this without specifying for each instance, when the object will start to move, they will move at one position of the first ever enemy. So because those objects are not linked in any way, right? So one thing we need to do first of all is to link the objects. So link to objects, and we say enemy vision is the object 1 and enemy is the object 2. So those are linked now, okay? And now we need to make them move together. I'll choose again for each object, which is enemy, and we need to remind to take into account the linked object. So take into account linked objects. So again, enemy vision and enemy, okay? And we change position of the enemy vision to be always at the position of the enemy. So let's type position of an object, enemy vision. So on the x-axis it will be enemy x, and on y-axis it's gonna be enemy dot y. Okay, so now let's see if that works. Okay, they're following the vision, and that's cool. But we have a problem here. It doesn't turn to the other side. Okay, so let's see how we can fix that. So in order to flip the vision, we need to make sure that when our enemy is flipped, we also flip the vision. Simple. So again, we need to make sure we choose this option for each object, and we select enemy. And we also need to take into account, you know, the linked objects. So take into account linked objects, so vision and enemy, and we say whenever our enemy is flipped, so enemy is flipped, we also flip the object enemy vision. Yes, flip it. Okay, so now I copy and paste this and I inverse all the conditions. So if enemy is not flipped, we do not flip the vision. So let's run and see if that works. Oh yeah, that works. You see each object flips individually and it has its own vision linked to it. So they are all independent from each other. Cool. So now comes the fun part. Now we need to make sure that enemy attacks us, right? So before doing anything here, I want to set up our bullet object. So I just put it here, and we need to add some physics to it, right? So because I want to have some gravity there, so I make sure when I shoot this direction, it will not just fly on this axis, it will actually do the curve and fall down. So I need to add a little bit of gravity to this object. So let's just go here, and one thing we need to do first, it's a good practice I think, we choose this one, destroy when outside of the screen, because we don't want to have thousands of objects flying around. And margin, this is the tolerance basically, so before destroying the object, let's leave it a few pixels, like 100 maybe. Okay, so we have that, and now I'll add some physics to it. So now let's choose physics engine. Okay, there are many things here. I'll try to just copy whatever I have in my game, but you know, you can play around with all of these settings. They do different things, and you know, the gravity could be more or less. So I'll choose fixed rotation because I don't want the object to rotate in my case. Let me see, I'll probably just modify this value here, just put it to 0.2, something like that. Apply. Okay, this is good. Now if I run the game, this object will just fall down, and if it does, that means we have some gravity there. Okay, so now I can just remove it from here. So other than shooting that object, that egg object from our enemy position, I want to make sure also that happens at a certain phase. So for that we need a timer. So as a first thing, we need to create a timer at the beginning of our scene. So at action and choose timer, and start or reset a timer of an object. Okay, and our object is obviously enemy, and the timer name will be something like attack. Okay, that's cool. So that's we make sure that at the beginning of the scene this timer starts from 0. Next thing we need to add is actually our collision between player and enemy vision to trigger the attack. I will still need to use this for each condition, and choose our object enemy. And we need to take into account obviously the linked object. So take into account vision and enemy, that first thing. The second thing, there should happen a collision. So collision between our player and enemy vision. Okay. Another condition is the time. So this is where we set actually the frequency. So timer, value of a timer of enemy. The timer name is attack, And this is how frequent it should be. I'll put 2 seconds here, but you can play around on your own. And last thing, trigger once. So this condition will trigger once we touch the enemy vision. So the only action here we will just reset the timer. So whenever this happens at 2 seconds, the timer will go back. Because if it never goes back, we will never have 2 seconds again. Okay, so I'll just copy this and I paste it here. Okay, so next thing we need to do is to create some subconditions. I just click on this block, press add new event, and just move it here under this main block. So all of these things needs to happen before we start to shoot, and we also need to make sure that our enemy shoots in the right direction. So if it looks at us to the right and we are from the right side, it should shoot to the right, and same thing for the left. Okay, so we start by just search for flip horizontally, and enemy is flipped, so when it looks to the right, then we create an object, bullet at enemy position, so enemy X and enemy Y. Okay, so it will create an object. Next thing, we need to make sure the Z order is correct. So the Z order is basically kind of a visibility order, right? So something with Z order 1 will be beyond Z order, something with Z order 2, and so on. So the higher the order is, the number is, so the more visible object is. So if we choose for our bullet equals value 10, that's going to be the highest value, I think, right? So if we check our scene, this object is Z order 2. This object is Z order 3, so it will go on top of our object. So if this is 4 and this is 1, so we have max order 5, so this will be on top of everything. So now we choose 10, so our bullet will appear on top of every object in our scene. And now we need to apply force. Okay, so what is the force of the object? Force. Apply force towards a position, and force is applied to bullet length. This is basically how powerful it is, so I just put 5 here. And X position, so we shoot towards our player, right? So player X, and we need to make sure we shoot to the right here. So on X axis I will add 200 pixels. On the Y axis is always player dot Y, but I want the bullet to shoot like up and then go down. So to do that I need to do minus something like 300 on the Y axis, right? So it will shoot up. Okay, so let's test if this is actually working. It will only happen when the enemy is looking to the right. Okay, so let's see. Okay, and they both shoot at me, but nothing happens if they look to the left. So to do the same thing for the other side, we just take all this block and copy and paste it, and inverse the condition, right? We just invert this one, and the only thing we need to change in this formula here, it's this thing. So it will shoot now to the other side, so it should be minus. Okay, so this is all we need, and let's see if that works. Okay, so now they shoot to this side and to this side. Okay, that works. So now just to make it pretty, I'll add another condition. It's not a subcondition of this, so I drag it to the left. And always, so basically I don't put any condition here. So at all times we'll hide all of our blocks that we need to trigger things. So because the end user doesn't need to see that. So we hide go left, we hide go right, and we hide enemy vision. Okay, so now it will look pretty. Okay, here we go. They didn't see me. Now they start to see me and attack. Cool. I'll go back. Yeah, I think that works pretty well. And you can add some more things. Just a few tips from me. So we can add some sound here as well whenever the attack is happening. Add action sound, play a sound, choose an audio, I don't know, pop, maybe this will work. Okay, that's cool. I'll copy it to this site as well. And another thing I want to do here is actually to make our player die whenever we touch the bullet, so that will complete the cycle. So collision between player and bullet, we restart the lever. So pause and start a new scene. Okay, so now whenever we touch this bullet we will die and restart the scene. Okay, so let me see how that works. Okay, they shoot. Oh, that's a really funny sound. And if they hit me, the scene restarts. Okay, so I think this is it for this tutorial. I hope this was very helpful. And please subscribe to my channel to see some more videos. You can follow me on Twitter. You can join my Discord server where you can actually also see more updates on my own game. And if you want to see some more tutorials on GDevelop, you can write in the comments below asking what exactly would you like to see. And thanks for watching, and see you next time.